Welcome to Business24 on NTA News 24, coming to you from the federal capital, Abuja. In our package today, focus will be on non-oil exports, from the inspiring story of a young entrepreneur to the incentives government is rolling out to encourage exporters. We also caught up with the managing director of the Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority, who opened up on efforts at financing small businesses. We will also check up on what is happening to cryptocurrency. Plus, our regulars, the weekly review of the capital markets, export tips, and our chats with the CEO of the week. I am Sophie Aigbomia, and this is Business24. Now let's get down to business. The federal government is pushing our diversification agenda with the introduction of new export incentives for Nigerians who choose to engage in non-oil exports. What exactly does this new policy seek to achieve? Joy Uzo has been finding out.
Diversification has been the perpetual goal of Nigeria, but the lure of oil shut out almost all non-oil sectors. The recent recession and emerging technological trends globally have combined to make the country wake up again to the wisdom in diversification. The Nigerian Export Promotion Council has the primary responsibility of driving non-oil exports in Nigeria. It is in this regard that it has unveiled a new incentive plan for non-oil exporters. Acting Executive Director Abdullahi Sidi Aliu says the initiative is a fine-tuned version of the previous Export Expansion Grant Scheme, EEG.
Yes, it has kick-started. Already we have done a meeting that approved some rates for companies. So we are in the process of collecting the applications for 2017 for processing, and then the full application of the grant will be made available. And then for the Export Development Fund, we are at the validation stage now, because we introduced we want people to be aware of the guidelines, let them understand how the scheme works so that they can apply, and then we'll start processing. Our target is to see that we commence the processing of this Export Development Fund in March this year.
The new set of incentives cures the defects in the old EEG. It includes the introduction of an export development fund designed to boost the growth of the small and medium enterprises sector. The new basket of incentives also has a pre-shipment provision, so exporters would be given the grant before exports.
Yes, Nigerian products will be competitive in the international market if supported by this incentive which the government is dishing out to Nigerians. The Export Expansion Grant and all the schemes under the new basket of export incentives are to actually mitigate the high cost of production on Nigerian manufacturers. And once those are mitigated, we anticipate that yes, Nigerian products will be competitive in the international market.
President Association of Hibiscus Flower Exporters of Nigeria, Olatunji Lawal, is excited about the initiative and says it will encourage new operators to come into the export sector.
This has been long awaited, to encourage general export of non-oil agricultural products. We have a lot, we produce from Nigeria, and these are sources of income, especially where the government is giving such facilities for exporters to improve and add value to the chain. And we can produce to semi-finished. We are only getting to that level of semi-finished. But the more we benefit from this semi-EG, we probably will get to the finished product itself. And then we have partners coming in, because we already have some people who are ready to partner with us, to go into the finished material process, which is an advantage from the EEG.
Experts believe the revival of the non-oil exports will contribute substantially to economic growth.
Now, the coordinating director of the Nigerian Agricultural Quarantine Service, Dr. Vincent Isegwe, has also been talking to us on non-oil exports, especially with respect to meeting international requirements for exporting commodities.
We are seen by people that, oh, we are hindering trade. Meanwhile, we are encouraging trade because we are ensuring that whatever you bring for export meets the international standard. It does not make sense if you bring 50 containers and we say, oh, sorry, only 2 containers are certified that can go into the international market. That would be disastrous for us as a country. So what the National Quarantine Service does is to go backward integration. Let the farmers know, if you are producing cowpea, this is the standard. If you are producing yam and you want to export yam, this is the standard. If you check our website, you see news bulletin, quarantine news bulletin, specifically addressing each of those issues. On our website too, there are standards for or conditions for exporting commodities. There has been a lot of increase in exports in the last 1 year. In fact, the managing director of Nigerian Ports Authority made an announcement that there was an increase of 150% increase in the export of agricultural produce through the Nigerian seaports. That alone is an indication that Nigeria has keyed into export of agricultural products. And we've been able to do that as a country because the Quarantine Service have initiated what we call, a battle integration project, where a lot of those commodities which hitherto people were not interested in exporting, we are showcasing them now and letting people know that these commodities can be exported. And some of those ones are like culinary herbs, like hibiscus, which people did not take too seriously, honey, snails. There are some of these things we are bringing up. And you know, Nigeria has a large population in diaspora. So we ensure that these people get these commodities wherever they stay and as they make demands. So we're exposing a lot of Nigerian agricultural produce overseas. So we are drawing attention to the Nigerian populace that, look, we cannot just sit idle. God has blessed us with so many agricultural produce which we can export. Don't forget too, we don't have winter season here. So we can produce anything we want all year round.
Many young Nigerians are looking towards the opportunities in the non-oil sector, especially with the current drive of the government. Kunle Adeyeye in this report has the story of one such young entrepreneur who is on an upward spiral from exporting sesame seed and cashew nuts.
As a lawyer by profession, Enifome Ubogu is a consummate advocate, and so he can be quite persuasive in promoting any cause of action. So when he took up the cause of the commodities business, it was with the intent to make a success of it, and he's doing just that. Enimofe operates out of here in Nasarawa State, and his present job is exporting sesame seeds and cashew nuts. The choice of the location is strategic because of the abundance of sesame seeds and cashew nuts here. He purchases the commodities from numerous markets in the locality, and he does the processing here with a processing machine which he rents. He has done this for about 4 years, and these have been 4 very demanding years, but Enifome's efforts are paying off. Enifome has now acquired state-of-the-art processing equipment which cost him quite some money, but it has enhanced his capacity to compete. The international market requires that commodities be processed to specific standards, and that is what Enifome does there. He exports sesame seeds to Turkey and cashew nuts to the Indian and Vietnamese markets, but he has eyes on other markets.
Our final product would be as clean as 99.9% 5% or 99.1%, but not less than 99%. And this quality will go to Europe, America, Canada. I mean, it can go anywhere. This is actually the height of our expectation. But we have other targets. There is a machine they call color sorter. It's very expensive, but we hope that in the next 1 or 2 years we'll have the color sorter. That means the machine that removes the black sesame seed, the discolored sesame seed, and it just makes it a uniform color.
In the recent past, Enimofe has had modest success with his export of a few thousand tons, but he can now be ambitious with increased processing capacity. Enimofe now has ambition of attaining a yearly target of exporting 10,000 tons of commodities, and it is not a tall dream. Kunle Adeyeye for Business24.
Enimofe Ubogu has become a passionate advocate for commodities business, especially with the participation of Nigerians. We had him in the studio to talk about the challenges with the commodities markets in Nigeria, starting with the challenge in accessing finance.
We hear about intervention schemes from the CBN for agric enterprises. I met my banker. She's a manager in the UBA Bank, and she was very clear that such schemes need the guarantees from the commercial banks. And to have such guarantees, you need to have landed properties in Abuja, in Lagos. So when you have massive properties in Abuja or Lagos, why do you need the funding? So this is one of the major problems. So at the moment, we trade with only our personal capital. And with our personal funding, there's a limit to the volumes we can trade. Foreigners control the business, the agro-commodities export business in Nigeria. Most of the companies that get this foreign exchange are foreign companies. You have Indian companies, Vietnamese companies, even Canadian companies, because they also fix the price. How it works, many Nigerian buyers, I'll call them big agents, they get very tight contracts from the Indians that have ready cash and cheap cash, because this brings us to the point of funding, because they have cheap funding, single digit loans they get, but in Nigeria we know it's double digit. So when they have this kind of money, they control the market.
Now, the issue of access to finance for small businesses, which was highlighted by Enimofe, has been a recurring one. So we took up the issue with the Managing Director of the Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority, Uche Oji.
We cannot invest directly in small businesses. It's impossible for us. But we are the single biggest shareholder, the second largest shareholder after the federal government in Development Bank of Nigeria. The Development Bank of Nigeria's job is to refinance microfinance banks and help bring down the cost of borrowing. Microfinance loans are so expensive. And so what we're trying to do is to help them bring their costs down so that small businesses can benefit. Nigeria has 20 million small businesses. So we can never be effective doing that. Through Development Bank of Nigeria, we will play that role.
Our in-house expert on exports, Femi Boyede, has a grasp of all relevant issues and now offers some tips on running a successful export business.
Contemporary exportable items from Nigeria that are actually helping Nigeria to fly, very proudly fly her flag in the non-oil export market. processed foods. Gone are the days when Gary used to be just in Bako Super Sack. You see how Gary is packaged these days, even off the shelf in ShopRite. I'm sure you must understand what I'm talking about. Poundo yam, packaged foods. You see how Nigerian spices, ready-made pepper soup are made. And of recent, I even saw an egusi that is ready to cook, as in the producer of that particular brand of egusi had actually added all ingredients in moderate recipe proportions. Contemporary Nigerian exportable products.
Recently, we did a special virtual currency, often referred to as cryptocurrency. Since then, there have been numerous developments with various governments responding to controversies around cryptocurrency. Ibok Ofyong was in our studio to explain the current situation of cryptocurrency.
Well, I mean, with the cryptocurrency market, we've all noticed that there's been a downward trend really in the market cap. You know, I know that the market dropped from over 500 billion to about 200 billion, market cap, recently. And people will ask why so, is the market crashing, is Bitcoin, the bubble really busted? Which I believe no, it's just a correction which is expected, in every market. And then of course the reasons why, it's happening, one of them is the fact that during Christmas, a lot of people always take out so much money, to buy gifts for their loved ones. And once you take out so much money from the market, the value of the currency drops, which is expected, which happened between 18th of December, till recently, And another reason why that happened was in January, we have the Chinese holiday, which is also another holiday for people to take out so much money and, buy gifts for their loved ones. And I mean, generally it's picking up, I'll say it's picking up, the market is picking up again.
Up next is another review, but this time it's our weekly review of the Nigerian capital markets.
You will recall that in January alone, the market gained about 15.95% in 1 month, which to all of us, we know that the market has risen too high, too fast. So there's bound to be market corrections, which we are seeing, apart from the effects in the international market.
We now come to the segment where we share the experiences of an accomplished chief executive, this time from the insurance brokerage subsector.
Our CEO for the week is Mr. Titus Abe. He is the Managing Director of Livingston Insurance Brokers. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. As a young graduate, I tried getting a job in the computer software industry, precisely to be a software programmer. And almost everywhere I get to, once they see me, they say, "Ah, you this young man, by the time we train you and you are a full-fledged professional, we will not be able to hold you down." Well, out of that frustration, I just went into a friend's office in Security Exchange Commission. He just gave me a list, say, "Look at all these insurance outfits. Why can't you just write them?" I wrote quite a number of them, about 50. And the first one that invited me for an interview, Datum Insurance Brokers. I attended the interview. I was asked to come start work the very following day. Started. I was with Datum Insurance Brokers for like 2 months, and I wasn't enjoying, the work until I was redeployed to the loss adjusting arm of the company. And within the space of 6 months to 1 year, I've traveled almost everywhere in Nigeria. And it's not as if you're traveling on vacation, you're traveling working. And the work was very, very tasking and challenging. And that was how I piqued interest in insurance. And ever since, it's been from one good level to another one.
You've spent more than 20 years in this industry. How would you describe your journey so far?
My journey so far, it's been a wonderful one. Full of challenges, full of goodies, it's just like every other person. You have the ups and the downs. Sometimes when you are up there, it's like nothing is happening down. And sometimes when you're down there, it's like, oh, is this ever going to end? So it's been fun all the way. It's been fun all the way. And I'm grateful to God for the gift of life.
The last item on our lineup for this week's edition is something rather on the soft side. Understandably, as the world on February 14th marked Valentine's Day, also known as Lover's Day. However, we will be looking at the business angle to the Valentine celebration. This is because it is usually marked by heavy spending. So Ekpemi Oga Akoma went to tally the numbers of how much businesses make from Valentine's spending.
Sharing red roses, wines, cards, chocolates, perfumes, movies, dinner dates, and more are some few ways Nigerians show abiding love and friendship in the month of February. While some people go searching for the delight of the season, a few take advantage of the business side, providing services that make the season even more endearing. The irresistible impulse of these shoppers finds commercial value for businesses, even as Ash Wednesday coincides with Valentine's Day this year. In Abuja, for instance, in-store and online business owners commercialize the day with a variety of preferred items. Without assumptions, we asked what the season is worth in profit terms.
It's about 100. This is in the gift industry. This is like our biggest season. Nigerians like to express themselves when it has to do with love, and this is the time you see more people coming. Most people coming. About like this, we get about like 200% increase in traffic.
Generally, on the increase, at least up to like 25 to 30%, compared to the regular sales.
Mostly we sell very well on Valentine because of people want to show their loved ones how much they love them.
With a boom in sales, businesses are reaping the dividend of the season, which is set to rank high in yearly sales among the major seasons of celebration. From our investigations, about 83% of Nigerians celebrate Valentine's Day compared to 17% of those who do not bother about the day. An average Nigerian Valentine faithful spends about 13,000 naira on gift items this season. While 33% of men spend money on perfumes and jewelry, 28% prefer to spend more on clothing. However, 40% of females spend more on perfumes, while 30% spend more on clothing. Smart, opportunistic entrepreneurs smile to the bank after making money off lovers and fun seekers on Valentine's Day.
A It is on that note that we draw the curtain on this week's edition of Business24. I hope you had a profitable time with us. I am Sophie Aigbomia, and I'll see you again.